Alright, today we've got a golden opportunity to show you skinning the side of a base cabinet and skinning the side of a wall cabinet all in one shot, which is very rare. Usually I always skin one or the other, but usually it's not both. But this time it's both. It's freezing. It's about 25 degrees in here. But we're going to get through it, and I'm going to show you how it's done. To do the base cabinet that needs to be skinned, which is over here, you use a PA 4836. Now, the illusion to the PA 4836 is you think it's 48 inches tall and 36 inches wide. It's not. The PA is actually 36 inches tall, 48 inches wide. And how do we know that? The grain on a PA 4836 is going up and down. And all the grain in the kitchen on all the cabinets goes up and down. So you can't skin the side of a cabinet that's 42 inches tall, even though this is 48. You can't skin the side of a cabinet, a wall cabinet that's 42 inches tall, because this is the cabinet that we happen to be skinning. You can see there was a little blowout from the installer putting the light rail on. This is 42 inches tall. So the grain would be going this way, and it would look really goofy. You've got grain going up and down here. You'd have grain going sideways here. So the PA can only be used to skin wall cabinets that are 36 inches tall, because this is 36 inches this way. Or it could be used to do a 30-inch cabinet. Again, the grain, you could get the grain going up and down. Now, for the wall cabinet, you want to use an EP. And an EP is simply just an end panel that's 11 inches wide by 42 inches tall. So that way, and I'll open that up in a second, you'll see that the grain is going up and down. Opened up the box. It's packaged pretty well. You can see it's pretty small compared to the box. But it's 11 1/4 inches wide, it's 42 inches tall, and you can see the grain is going up and down. So that's what we're going to use to skin the side of the wall cabinet that's 42 inches tall. It's nice because you don't have to cut it. As a tech, not only is it correct as a CSA to order the EP anytime you're doing wall cabinets, it's also easier for the service tech because I don't have to rip this. I don't have to cut this to size. I'll show you how it just fits right in. Now, the PA, we're going to have to cut. Here you can see the damage from the base cabinet, and the FSR recorded that on the quality walk, and it said skin outside. He was very specific, outside of the base 39, and this is a base 39. The installer went ahead and left a piece of scribe, which is nice because he's cut it to length, as tall as the cabinet, and after we skin it, we'll be able to put that piece of scribe on. Now, the trim carpenters have already come in here. So this piece, this base molding that's already put on, we're going to have to pop off because the panel will take up this little bit of gap, and then also to put the scribe on, this would have to be cut back, but that's okay. We'll just pop that off. And trim carpenters do the same thing cabinet guys do, is they all do punch out. So I'm going to show you how that's done. We'll need a skill saw, which is there, cordless, because again, this house has no electricity. Most houses don't. So for the tech, cordless is the only way to go. And then we'll need an air compressor, and I like to use a pin nailer. And a pin nailer is, the pins are very small. I use this little 1/2-inch pin to attach the panel to the cabinet, because the cabinets are only 3/8 of an inch thick. So you add the panel, and you don't want to nail to pop all the way through. And the same thing when you do the side panel on the wall cabinet, you don't want any nails to come through on this side. So I use a little short 1/2-inch pin nail, and then when I go to put the scribe back on, which I'll take that off and put it back on. This one I'll just put on. I use which is a 1-inch pin nail. And the benefit of using a pin nail over a brad nailer, if you don't know the difference, is a brad nailer will leave a bigger hole and then you have to putty it. And as an installer, you can imagine with all this trim, if you start putting in a bunch of holes, that's a lot of puttying. So the pin nailer is really a valuable tool to both the tech and the installer. So let's get started on how we're going to skin the side of the base cabinet first. I need to know how wide am I going to rip the panel, how tall am I going to cut the panel, and then also down to toe kick, how big is this cutout. And so it's just a matter of measuring what's here, transferring onto here. So that's 23 inches. I like to cut it a little short because scribe is going to fit it anyways. All of our cabinets, all our base cabinets are 35 inches tall. Again, I like to cut it just a little bit short, just the thickness of a saw blade short. And then this dimension's always 2 and 3/8. And then this, of course, all our toe kick is 4 inches tall. So that, and there's no floor here. If the hardwood floor or whatever the builder's using to do the floor was here, that would be a different dimension, but that's 4 inches. So now all we got to do is transfer that information on the panel and make the cut. Okay, after we mark the panel, one thing that's very important when cutting these panels, EPs and PAs, all they are is MDF with paper. This is just a paper that is glued at the factory onto this MDF board. MDF board is just medium density fiber board, so it's nothing. It's not like it's hardwood or anything. But you want to cut it upside down, and the reason being is, you see the rotation of the blade. The blade, you want it to cut, when it's cutting this stuff, if the blade is cutting it the other way, you're going to get a lot of tear out on that paper. If it's cutting up, the blade's coming up, it makes a cleaner cut. So the other thing, if you're a tech watching this, just make sure you're clear of all the what's finished. You don't want to cut the island leg or the filler that's under here. So I use my compressor sometimes to just add a little weight, counterweight. But the other thing is this cut's not going to be as straight as the factory edge. So I like to use the factory edge when it comes to putting it up against the face frame. I'll show you that in a minute. Then I just merely make the other cut, because remember it's only 35 tall. This panel is 36. So using the factory edge, now I want to make sure my toe kick cutout is on this side. I don't know if you can see that. But I want to make it here because this is the factory edge and we want that straight edge on the face frame. And again, we're going to cut it upside down. All right, next, an important step that's obvious is this has to get colored with a touch-up pen because it's going to be exposed. And MDF has that brown color, and this is a rouge cabinet color. But the other thing I like to do is this edge, which is going to get hidden by the face frame anyways, but I like to color just the edge of that so that you don't see it. When this slips in there and goes up against, even though we nail it, I like to do just that little bit of an edge, and I'll show you how that's done, just in case a little bit of it's shown. But this whole thing needs to be colored. All right, so I've colored that edge, I've colored the toe kick. Now it's just a matter of sliding it in place. And you can take a chisel, and on this back edge, I like to put it in there and push it as close to the face frame as possible. And I've got my 1/2-inch pin nails in. I like to push that panel all the way up against that face frame. Fortunately, the air tank on this compressor doesn't need to be plugged in. It holds a good charge. If not, I would have to, if I was doing a lot of crown or something, I would have to plug it in. So here you can barely see, I don't even know if you can see it, that's the pin nail, that's the hole. And that doesn't even have to be filled with putty. That can be just colored. And then you wipe it with your finger and it just disappears. So there's another one. Again, if you were using a brad nailer, that would be a problem because the hole ends up being so much bigger. Now we have to put the scribe on, and you can see what I was talking about. The panel took up the thickness that the trim guy thought was just going to be a piece of scribe. I mean, he had the presence of mind to know that he knew scribe goes there, but I don't think he realized the reason it was off was because we're going to skin it. And so we need to remove this piece. We could remove it really carefully, cut, you know, a 1/4 inch off of it and put it back on. Sometimes when you take it off, though, they break. This stuff looks like wood, but it's not. It's really, it's a low-density fiberboard. It's very cheap. It's just decorative molding that's made out of this really cheap stuff. So we'll take that off now and put the scribe on.